I thank the representatives for this decision and all Brazilians who believed in our country. We will work together for Brazil.
Brazilian President Michel Temer survives a vote to suspend him on corruption charges, despite 80% of Brazilian voters agreeing he should face trial. Hello, I'm Nathan King, sitting in for Anna Naidu, and this is The Heat. Hello again. Corruption charges against Brazilian President Michel Temer were dropped after a vote in the Brazilian Congress last week. The very unpopular president got support where he needed it most, in the lower chamber of Congress, and will stay in power, at least until the next charge. From Rio de Janeiro, we have CGTN's Lucrecia Franco with more.
It was a historic victory for Michel Temer, the first sitting president of Brazil, to face formal criminal charges. Had the lower house voted to accept the corruption charges, Temer would have been suspended for 6 months. It all began in May, when a secretly recorded conversation surfaced where the president seems to be supporting the payment of hush money to a politician involved in the corruption scandal at the state-run oil company Petrobras. Temer claims the tapes were all edited. Also, one of Temer's former aides who was arrested was filmed carrying a suitcase with $150,000 in cash that prosecutors say was a first payment to the president in exchange for favors to the world's largest meat packer, JBS. While the lower house voted to let Temer keep his job, many analysts and the government watchdog group Contas Abertas, or Open Accounts, say the president clearly bought support. According to the group, in June and July, the government awarded more than $1.3 billion in funding for lawmakers' pet projects, a huge amount considering Temer's austerity agenda. More political turmoil is expected as Brazil's top prosecutor, who brought the corruption charges against Temer, says the president also committed crimes of obstruction of justice and illicit association. These charges, if filed, would also need to go through Congress. Meanwhile, though polls revealed 80% of Brazilians wanted Temer to go to trial, and the president himself faces an approval rating of just 5%, people here say they are exhausted by the corruption scandals and have lost trust in politics. And no matter what they do, nothing will change, at least until next year's general elections. Another reason for this lack of energy to protest, analysts say, is the country's economic crisis. Over 13 million Brazilians are unemployed, and many are more worried with their own survival than with the country's political crisis. Lucrecia Franco, CGTN, Rio de Janeiro.